Okay, so every now and again I receive a little bit of feedback from the Revit.com.au website. Sometimes it could be, how someone's used something that I've posted about in their day-to-day work, or sometimes it's clarification on a post. Sometimes it's to tell me my posts don't work and the solutions don't work, but I wouldn't post them if they didn't work. And and sometimes it's just asking for a little bit of extra explanation, a little bit of extra help. So this time around, the email that I've received is from a user that's new to Revit, and they were reading my example on how to use integers to control the visibility of a key plan, or the hatching of the key plan within a title block. So I have a modified version, slightly modified version of the out-of-the-box Autodesk title block. You can see I've got a dodgy looking key plan in there. Now that's just a group, but there's better ways to do that. You could have a nested family in there. For the purpose of this though, this works. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to split this into 4. So it could be 2, it could be 4, it could be 3, it could be however many you want. There was a project that I worked on a long time ago, probably 6 years ago now, and it had, from memory, I think either 28 or 32 drawings, A1 drawings per level at 1 to 100. So this was fantastic to work with in that situation, because you put the integer in of the particular page that you wanted. So if it's page 18 of 32, you put in 18 and you get the right hatch. And that's why this is such a brilliant solution compared to if you were just using the yes, no tick boxes for the visibility of the hatching. You would have to untick the other 31 tick boxes and leave the one on that you want. So not only does it bore you senseless, but there's a massive room for user error when you're doing that. So anyway, on with the example. So I'm just going to create some filled regions for my hatching, and I'm just gonna get a little bit creative on the. That should be okay. Actually, I've cocked that up. Let's start that again. You want to do these one at a time. Don't do them all at once. Everyone makes mistakes, even me. I'm not saying that I'm the most brilliant Revit user in the world, but a lot of people come to me for assistance, and they can be surprised that I can also get things wrong. But let's go. So here we go. We've got our 4 key plans. You can see that. So we want to apply a visibility parameter to these. So the easiest way to do this is to have your properties windows up, select the particular section. So I'm going to call these 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's top left is 1, top right is 2, and then the bottom left and bottom right are 3 and 4. So you can see here in the properties window there's visible. So if I untick that, if I turn on my preview of the visibility, you can see that's off. So if I switch off that preview, I come back here and I'll turn that back on, but you can apply a parameter to it. So what I'm going to do is just that little box at the end there, that little button. I'm going to add a new parameter, and I'm just going to call it, we'll call it hatch 1. We don't have to call it on or off, we'll just call it hatch 1. And it's going to be an instance. Now you want it to be an instance because it's going to be different for every single title block that you put in. So you can have, if it was a type, you'd have to actually create 4 different title block family types, and then you'd have to change the title block on every page, which you don't want to do that. You want to do it this way. So if you like, you can put it under graphics, but I tend to forget about this and everything sort of ends up under other or data or something, but you should put it under graphics. You should be categorizing your parameters properly. So we want to do the same again for the next 3. So this one's going to be called hatch 2. We'll put that under graphics and it's an instance. The next one will be hatch 3. So let's just set that there. So hatch 3, whoops. Hatch 3 instance and hatch 4. Hatch 4. Now you can call them whatever you want. You can call them zones, you can call them hatch, you can call them whatever. It doesn't really matter as long as it's something that makes sense and something that is consistent. Okay, so we've got that part, so that's easy, but well, what does that really mean? So I'll turn this preview of the visibility on. Just shift this guy across to the side, and I'll bring up our family types window. Now you can see, and I've stuffed up hatch 3, so let's just modify that and list him under graphics. There we go. So you can see I've turned hatch 1 and 2 off, and if I go apply, then hatch 1 and 2 disappear. But how do I apply that to an integer? So what you need to do is when you're in this family types dialog, you want to create a new parameter. I don't know why it's the second button there, but never used to be buttons, and that kind of annoys me, but anyway. So it's just going to be a family parameter. It doesn't have to be a shared parameter. And it's also going to be an instance. If you're driving one parameter with another parameter, they should be the same type, sorry, they should be either a type or an instance. You drive a type with a type and an instance with an instance. So we're going to call this Keyplan int. So to explain what an integer is just, it's a whole number. It can't be a decimal. It's only a whole number. So that's why using an integer works with doing this, because you want to go, so for hatch 1, you want hatch 1 to be 1. For hatch 2, you want hatch 2 to be 2. You don't want someone to type in 2.5 and then Revit doesn't know what it has to do. So just make sure that you set everything properly here. So at the moment you can see it's a length, so we want to change that to an integer. And you can put it under graphics as well, because it's related to the graphics. And you can put a tooltip in these days, so you can go, hold on, so you can go, this controls the hatch, if I could spell, of the Keyplan 1 equals zone 1, for example. Okay, so you can see at the moment it's 0 and everything else is ticked. And if I change this to 1, it's well, it still doesn't do anything. Now, the reason why that is because you need to link the two parameters together. So the way that you do that is you take the name of the Keyplan, of the parameter, which is Keyplan int. So I'm just hitting Control-C, the shortcut for copy there. And in the formula column, you want to put that in and you want to go equals 1. And you can see now that the tick box is grayed out and you can't do anything with it. That's because it's now controlled by this formula. So the next thing you go is equals 2, then you can go equals 3, and you can go equals 4. And you can see now 2, 3, and 4 have turned off. And if I change to 2, then all of a sudden 2 comes on. And if I change to 3, then all of a sudden 3 comes on, and so on and so forth. So the really good thing about this is if you have, say, a title block, a cover sheet or a detail sheet or a schematic sheet, something like that, where you don't need the Keyplan to be visible, when the Keyplan is set to, or the Keyplan integer is set to 0, you can see that all of our Keyplan hatching is switched off. All right, so we can take that one step further though, as I showed in the blog post on revit.com.au, was you can actually set this guy. So as I said, I had this as a detail group, which don't recommend using detail groups, but we'll set this as, we'll call this Keyplan visible. And again, that's going to be an instance, and that's going to be set under graphics. So that there is going to control that line work. So if we go back into our family type dialog, we can bump that guy up there. And what we can do is, that's ticked on. Now, if we go, so what do we do if we want it turned off? So, but we want it on for all the other settings for 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, what we do is we go not keyplan int equals 0. It is a little bit confusing. Hold on. But when it is anything other than 0, it'll turn on. So if I change it to 1, you'll see it'll turn on. 2, still on. So if we have everything set to 0, you can see everything's turned off, and our key plan is completely gone. So that would be the setting for cover sheets, for schematic sheets, for detail sheets where you don't want to apply the key plan. And then you've got, we can set it to 2, and away we go. So there you go. That is my quick example of how to use integers to control the visibility of the hatching in your Titleblock key plan.